Are you, you're leading the conversation, the talk?
Absolutely. Well, my first job is to introduce you to Jürgen and Elizabeth, who are bringing this event to South Africa. So immediately, I think, the important thing is, in order for this event to come to the Eastern Cape, has been this incredible collaboration between Professor Peggy Leswazi and Jürgen. They've both really put so much effort into it. I thought today would be an opportunity for the two to engage and show us the way forward. Can we keep this event in the Eastern Cape? Can we even take it to Umtata? These are questions that I know that only they can resolve. So my first thing is to say thank you, Elizabeth, and you can go for it.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure, as it has been a pleasure for many years now, and it continues to be a pleasure, especially seeing how it is picking up, how Jazz Against Apartheid is not something of the past, but obviously something of the present. And who knows if it can develop into something of the future and change along the way and adapt to the situation in the Eastern Cape or in general in South Africa. So we are very happy that the idea picks up so nicely and that there's so much energy flowing into this project from all the participants, as far as we know. So thank you very much for your energy and spirit in this endeavor.
So can we each just introduce ourselves so we know who we are, maybe starting at the top here with Tobo.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Hi, I'm Tobo Tabede, Auntie Peggy's niece. Aunt Peggy and my mom are cousins. They go all the way back to when they were kids in the villages. So we are here, both of us in Umtata. Aunt Peggy, being at the university, she used to be my lecturer on social psychology when I was studying and doing my honors there. So I'm actually part of the team that she works with in the program they call Ilima Labantu. I am a life coach and a pastoral thanatologist. And I also do a lot of work with youth development and empowerment of youth. I think I'll stop there.
Thank you. Polani?
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Perfect.
Okay, my name is Polani January. Currently a release train engineer at Vodacom, based in Cape Town. Originally, I'm from the Eastern Cape. I've been working with Prof. Luswazi since 2018 during the establishment of the Center for Rural Development. We've worked on the establishment of the Faculty of Agriculture and Rural Development Studies. At my time working at the Center for Rural Development, I was also busy with the setting up of the Faculty of Rural Development and Development Studies. And also I was also responsible at the time, I was also a student there during the Center for Rural Development Annual Conference, organizing student conference component of the Annual Rural Development Conference. I think I will stop for now.
Okay, thank you. Kawe?
Struan, I have a question. Could I just translate for Jürgen?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just let me have a small little time. I take off my microphone so I can translate.
What was this year?
Mm-hmm.
Colleagues, good afternoon. My name is Johnny Mbizo.
Oh, thank you,
Dada.
Mngeniso.
Yeah, I know my connection is not so good this afternoon, so I may be breaking here and there. Yeah, but I have I have been working in this province for the past 26 years. That's the age of my last born. So otherwise, you know, I lived and worked in Gauteng before coming down here, and before then I spent a long time in Swaziland. So we're in close associates with Prof. Luswazi on a number of ventures here. I was attached to the University of Fort Hare for some time, and we also worked together on the Provincial Planning Commission, and now we are together in Ilima Labantu. Thank you.
Thank you so much. No, please go ahead, Dyasi.
Oh, my name is Hubert Dyasi. Let me see. I have my mic on. Good morning, everybody. I know it's good evening there for all of you. I'm originally from the Eastern Cape Municipal District of Elliot. I went to high school at St. John's at Mthatha, and then to Fort Hare. I'm now based in New York. I was last in South Africa in the Eastern Cape about 6 years ago. My field is science education. I got my bachelor's degree and part of my master's in the sciences. And then I decided maybe the best thing to do is to learn how to communicate science to people who are not scientists, including children. And so I taught high school after finishing my diploma, taught high school in South Africa, and then left to come to the United States, where I got my doctoral degree in science education. Just so you know how old I am, Nomfundo was my student at Fort Hare. So I'm no longer a spring chicken. Okay, thank you very much.
Neither are we.
You're well presented. Well presented.
And Dr. Boy, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you. Oh, all right. Hi, can you see me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Well, my name is Dr. Vianney Boy. I'm the CEO of Nelson Mandela Museum in the Eastern Cape. I've studied my basic degree at University of Fort Hare. Then after that, I went to study history at University of Western Cape in Cape Town. And I went to study my PhD, University of Fort Hare and University of Connecticut in the northern part of United States. Spent my life. Can you hear me?
I think that finish after 30 minutes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I spent.
Miss Putolani, mute. Putolani, please mute. Tolani, please mute.
I have spent most of my time at University of Fort Hare, plus minus 17 years, looking after the archives of all the liberation movements. ANC, PAC, AZAPO, Black Consciousness Movement, a New Unity Movement. That's the work I've been doing for the most part of my life, looking at those liberation archives. And then I moved to Nelson Mandela Museum as a CEO. Dr. Dada Punhlaganiso, that's how we know him. He was one of my mentors at University of Fort Hare. I think he will remember me. So that's the work I have been doing. I am very much strong on heritage work, memory work, and also culture and history. Those are my area, in particular, the South African liberation history. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jürgen and Elizabeth, perhaps.
Okay, the person sitting right next to me is Jürgen Leinhus, and he is, together with Johnny Dyani, he is the founder of Jazz Against Apartheid, of this project that has started in 1986, during that hot phase, as we can call it, of the movement against apartheid here in Germany and in Europe. And ever since then, hi Peggy, ever since then, the Jazz Against Apartheid in 1986 started, and Jürgen and I joined the movement. We have put up those concerts very regularly since 1986. And Wusi in Berlin was from the very beginning a very supportive soul in this endeavor, just joining and giving his energy into it, just as Peggy, who is now joining us also here in Zoom. So the four of us, Wusi, Peggy, Jürgen and me, and a few others, we here in Germany during the late 1980s and early 1990s, we pushed forward Jazz Against Apartheid in the sense of liberating the world from apartheid. This is our little tiny contribution that we wanted to make here.
Ja, ich möchte mal anmerken, dass ich mich natürlich wahnsinnig freue, dass Sie da mit und diesen Kontakt gefunden haben und gepflegt haben.
And Jürgen wants to say that it's a major pleasure and happiness for him that he connected with Peggy and with Wusi for such a long time, and that we have been able to sustain this Jazz Against Apartheid for so many decades. And to him, it's a huge pleasure and an honor to do this and to have been able to do this. So that's.
Thank you. Oh, Peggy, are you with us?
Yes, I've come in, but I've got a sound problem. We're in the process of fixing it up.
Oh, we can hear you perfectly.
I'm fine, Struan. I hear you very well, but I couldn't pick up very clearly what Elizabeth and Jürgen was saying. But I don't know what question you asked.
Okay, no, they introduced the event, Peggy, and just to say that their friendship with you and Wusi goes way back into the 80s.
Mm.
So I think you have a lot of colleagues here from your organization. So I think today is very much about you and bringing the event to Eastern Cape. So I don't know if you could maybe just open that conversation.
Yes. Shouldn't I respond to the question that you raised, why I had fought and kicked dust for this project to come to the Eastern Cape? That was the question you gave.
Yes.
Shall I respond to that?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, hello, everybody. It was great to have a view of Elizabeth, especially Jürgen. I haven't seen Jürgen for maybe 30 years or so. But Elizabeth, we met last year. So it's great to see them, even if they're so far away. The question you directed at me was why I had, what was the word you used?
Fought so hard
Yes.
to bring it to the Eastern Cape.
Yes, well, I had fought so hard for this project to come to the Eastern Cape. Now, my response to that is, it's really my origins. I was born and bred in Greek Colony East, which was part of the Eastern Cape, rural, and that's me, yeah. So when I returned from Germany after being away for some 25 years, it was 2 years, just 2 years before, it was 1992, 2 years before the South African independence celebration. So my focus, also because I had studied development studies as a minor, so the subject of development, rural development in particular, was very close to my heart. So I focused on what I call reconstruction and development of the Eastern Cape. You can call it sentiment, you know, and preference for your own. There was also a desire on my part to witness what I knew to be a good, groundbreaking international project spearheaded by Jürgen Linus. I was very keen that this project comes to the so-called poorest province. The Eastern Cape is said to be South Africa's poorest province. My main concern, therefore, had to do with the origin of one of the founds. We came in a bit late. I assume that people know, those who are in this meeting have an idea that the Jazz Against Apartheid project was founded by two people. One was Jürgen Linus, who is here with us, and the other was Johnny Dyani. And Johnny Dyani came from the Eastern Cape. His home is in Duncan Village, was in Duncan Village. So most unfortunately, Johnny Dyani departed, you know, he passed on in the 1980s. That is before 1994, which marked the end of apartheid. And Jürgen, from my point of view, has done a sterling job to continue this project post-apartheid and post-Johnny. So no wonder they received a very precious South African National Award in 2021. Now, Vusi knows more about this than myself. Why did I fight for the project to come to the EC? When I heard that the concerts that were planned initially were to be in Cape Town, were to stage in Cape Town and Johannesburg, and in the case of the Eastern Cape, Port Elizabeth was counted. My sense was that I'm witnessing what is quite common, which is that major cities tend to gain preference when it comes to big very meaningful projects. And the periphery, you know, the rural periphery, it tends to be overlooked. And it's something that I'm used to anyway, that you need to draw people's attention. Then sometimes people don't even do it out of negative reasons or malice. It's just that it's common that big concerts, you know, that's the common practice, go to the major cities. Even in Germany, it was the same. I remember that, you know, living in Berlin was an advantage because the Berlin, the internationally recognized Berlin Jazz Festival took place in Berlin, in Germany, but Berlin also every year in November. I don't think anybody would think of taking such an event to a small, unknown town like Aachen. Yeah, so that happens here as well. So I did what I could then to draw the attention of those who were organizing JAA to the fact that Johnny Dyani is a child from Duncan Village, which is a township in Islam. And I could imagine the people of Duncan Village and what bringing, you know, Jazz Against Apartheid to them as having been founded by one of their own, what it would mean. Now, Elizabeth, you will remember, I did not attend the youth workshops that took place in Duncan. But Elizabeth explained to me, maybe she can do so now as well, how impressive the response of the people of Duncan Village was when they were told that one of their own, Johnny Dyani, had made a name for them in the world, you know, through his competences in the jazz music. So that was one of the major reasons why I fought. The last point is that the Eastern Cape is a traditional home of jazz. When I was a teenager and a student at Fort Hill, jazz bands, you know, it was common that on a Saturday, a jazz band would come from East London or from Port Elizabeth or even from Queenstown. Queenstown was quite well known as a center of jazz music. Mbali and Nomvete bands, they came to entertain us at the university. But also the university itself, Fort Hill itself, had a very, very good jazz band. And the students during my time who were on this band were mainly from Queenstown and Eastern Cape Town. For some reason, you know, historical reason, Queenstown at the time was in the forefront of jazz music. But Mike Pashlane was the leader of the band at the university. Lungile Noah, and I hope his wife, Nomoto, I asked us to be part of this meeting because I knew I was going to talk about Lungile. Lungile, also from Queenstown, I think at the time, was one of the boys that played on the that were on the jazz band. And even at high school, the high schools like Hilltown, students would be organized as they were called coves. I don't know what co meant, but maybe it meant company, little music groups. And once in a while there would be a concert, and what they were singing or what they were playing was jazz music. It was just common that we sing, gonna take a sentimental journey, da 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 da. You know, those were the days. And Queenstown, as I said, was very, very much in the forefront of jazz. I was taught my Chiquiza, very famous jazz musician, who played a key role in the famous musical King George, was from Queenstown. And when I was at St. Matthew's College, at about the age of 14, his younger brother, there were two of his younger brothers at the school. And one of them, Pat, was actually made to play the organ in church, which was something that only the wife of the principal could do. So you see what Queenstown historically contributed to jazz development in South Africa and in fact in the whole world. So I was fighting for the recognition also of this history, Stuart. And so I would also like it noted that in the course of the early discussions, Struan and I reached an agreement in some conversation that jazz against apartheid in South Africa would adopt, in the Eastern Cape, we would adopt what is actually a German principle of Nachwuchsförderung. That the focus will be on exposing young people to this international jazz program. So at the center of the homecoming for Jazz Against Apartheid is promotion of love of jazz, especially among young people. And we hope, and I hope, that we can succeed in creating moments of exposure and of learning for our youth through the usage of, through the motivation stemming from the concept of Nachwuchsförderung. Above all, I would like to see a renaissance of jazz excellence in the Eastern Cape, as the case was when I was a teenager. So these then, Struan, and a few others are the reasons why I argued and pushed, that jazz against apartheid is brought to the Eastern Cape in recognition of, in memory of Johnny Dyani, a boy from the township of Mdantsane. And I really look forward to this year's event, and hopefully in another 10 years, our Jazz Against Apartheid will be a well-known flagship project of the Eastern Cape.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Peggy. What a beautiful speech. Elizabeth, do you have any comments?
I have one comment to make. Peggy, thank you very much for remembering what I told you about the workshop in Gompo Art Center. Because to my mind, it was really the highlight of last year was the sound, the repetitive sound of young people commenting on Kianetsi's talk. Oh, we didn't know that he was from here. This incredible recognition that he is one of us who made it, and he is one of us who made such beautiful music and who had made such a contribution and attracted so many people from the international scene. And this was really, to my mind, was the highlight of the entire tour. The workshop, what the young kids learned from each other, from the musicians. And it is very much at the center of Jazz Against Apartheid here in Germany as well for all these years, that workshops have been an integral part of the concert series that took place here every year for 35 years. Because it is so important not just to listen to good music, but also what does this music somehow signal without words. And in the music, the way that musicians play with each other is a model of how we could live with each other. And I think this is something which you can learn when you are playing together, not just when you're listening. You can see it, but playing together is a fundamental educational step, I think, experiencing it. And this is why the workshops are such a major project and part in the series.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Can I just ask a question there? Because, you know, one of the things of bringing the legacy of Johnny Dyani home, it's also you realize that he is one of many incredible unsung heroes in South Africa. You know, and I think as soon as you open the floodgates to cultural memory, I'm just seeing so much come through. You know, even Peggy, your influence and legacy is also highly profound. So I just wanted to maybe ask Nhlanganiso if you don't mind commenting on this, because you have sent a message about, you know, the focus on rural and exposing or developing or expanding these marginalized voices. So can we hand over to Nhlanganiso maybe, if you're still with us? Yes.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm still here. Maybe just to share, you know, a comment or two. Just to start with, you know, just my own background. I made the point that I've been in this province for 26 years of my life. Yeah? And previous, you know, and I'm in my 60s now. So, but I was born in Benoni, what was called then Benoni, where we had, you know, in the township, neighboring township, we had the likes of Victor Ntlaziwana, you know, who was from here, from Queenstown also. And a number of other jazz artists, you know, that originated, you know, from the Eastern Cape, but also other areas. Scouting, it's a mixed pot. You have people coming from different regions of the country. Anyway, just saying that once awareness, awakening really to our jazz, if you will, came through, listening to the sounds of the likes of Vitan Traceable, and then I left for Swaziland in 1967 with my grandfather who had gone to exile then. And I got exposure to the rural experience, if you will, and the richness of that experience, particularly, well, in all respects, really, but also in, more relevant to this discussion, the rich culture and the offerings that, that had. And you'll go to every region of the country and you'll find, unique offerings in that respect. My mother comes from the north. She's a Mutokwa. So I also have some experience with, the creations, the cultural activity of Pedi, Batokwa, Mavenda, but I've been in the Eastern Cape for 26 years, so I've homed here. And, there's a lot that drew me to this region, if you will, mainly from, its attraction, it's the history of this province and its contributions to, if you will, the early resistance, even, of colonial encroachment, and it carried across generations, so no wonder that you have a number of, significant heroes and heroines in our struggle coming from this province. So, back to the topic, the subject of discussion, this discussion here. So the Eastern Cape clearly has, for a number of reasons, it has, really, enriched, our cultural landscape with a number of, luminaries, Johnny Mbizo Dyani being, amongst them. And, this initiative, if you will, provides a strategic hook. So Dyani represents really a generation of, of creatives. I look at him that way, you started this, this initiative with him in Germany, and it has now been brought here. But more strategically, I think we should see it as a vehicle for, if you will, driving us in a, and opening up, opportunities in a, in a direction of valorizing what, the rural regions, the forgotten rural, regions of the country, have to offer. Forgotten as they are, or as they have been, they've continued really to, to give us, to throw up really a number of bridges and creatives, that have not really perhaps even been getting much support, material support from government, from, other sources, mainly because of, the peripheral location of the rural regions. But this initiative that you are driving, Chairs Against, Apartheid, as I say, can really be a strategic vehicle for, firstly highlighting, raising awareness around, how the the apartness of you, if you will, impoverishes, us all, because not enough opportunity and support is given to artists and the rich, reservoir that, of creativity that can be found in rural spaces. So, I also make the point here that, and with the experience of straddling, straddling a rural experience and, township in my case now, I'm convinced really that our key reference point in terms of creativity, carries really that rural, cultural motif, if you will. And it finds expression in a number of offerings and outputs and products that come from our artists. Not only musicians, but also in other areas in crafts, in design, and you had even there, apart from musicians really that carry the flag or the torch for us. During the struggle against apartheid, you have also artists such as Botumile Feni, who were, really brilliant, in sorry, a brilliant visual artist, and you have a range of others. So this initiative that you are leading, Strong and colleagues, as I said, I would see it as an important, strategic hook, against which we can, develop and load, other, initiatives that are really around, mainly around breaking down the apartness, so, apartheid understood as an apartment that lives with us up to now. Not just the apartheid as we know it. We carry the legacy of apartheid even to this day, mainly in the form of marginalization. But I'm also saying that this opens up an opportunity for, if you will, tapping into other areas of that are characterized by this apartness, or artists that are in the periphery, not necessarily, not only from this region, but across the globe, if you will, particularly the South, because there's a lot of richness that sits there, that can really, benefit, if you will, humanity at large. And so, and now we're not only talking of it's bringing it into the contemporary, one is pleased to see, for instance, in our midst here, a young, emerging, exciting talent such as Uzinhle, and there are a number of others, so Msaki, Maswana, Tumile, or Dumza, I think Maswana, and a number of other, young, emerging talent that, hopefully will continue to be the torchbearers of, what you guys have started, but also really, attached to it, as I say, other, important, considerations that should be brought to our attention as a development collective, so to speak. And in Limalabantu, I would see it really as supporting that endeavor, promoting what we can, be able to support and promote, facilitating whatever we can. I mean, we're in the process, for instance, right now of working with the Nelson Mandela University on a significant, a major application for the capacity development program that touches a number of areas, the creative, area being the creative industry in its broadness being one of those areas. But it's a privilege really to participate in this discussion, and we are behind you, and we will, also use whatever endeavors we can to, to support the growth of this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you, Nhlanganiso. Are there any comments, or can I hand over to Mr. Dyasi?
Oh,
Go ahead, Peggy.
Hello, let me ask you a question. Why is this being handed to me now?
Well, I think, the role of education is right at the forefront of this, and also the international network that's coming into the Eastern Cape. So I think you would be brilliantly positioned, to assist us in positioning this event in that context of education and national cooperation.
Well, yeah, okay, something is going on. I'll just wait a minute. All right. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Well, my first claim to, what shall I say, to fame is that when I was a first-year student at Fort Hare, we started a jazz club, and my name was the first on the list. It was not done alphabetically, it's just who was most eager to be on the club. And so that's my claim to fame, first of all. And beyond that, I know very little. My second claim to fame, I'm just talking about personal things now, was when Prof. Luswazi was referring to the jazz groups at Fort Hare. There was a trio, a jazz trio that was led by Lungi Lenoa, and I was their sponsor because I was already a lecturer there at that time, and I had some connections overseas, and I wanted to make sure they got some of the music that was popular in South Africa, but was not available in a suitable form for people who wanted to play it. So given those two, I appreciate your thinking I might offer something. I'm not sure I can, but I just want to make a few comments about just jazz itself. It is an instrument, no pun intended here. It is an instrument that is very powerful nationally and internationally. And I think this festival and the celebration of our fellow South African jazz musicians is very appropriate. First, jazz and music in general, jazz is a great connector of people coming from different spheres of life and from different levels of economic welfare. And it does this because when one is going to a jazz concert, you are not thinking of the color of the person. You are not thinking of the nationality of the person. What is drawing is jazz. And during the struggle for liberation, those of us who were in exile always got inspiration from listening and sometimes attending concerts by our jazz players. musicians. And it was also, and I happen to know this, what I'm going to say, from some of the people who were involved directly in the liberation struggles in Angola and Mozambique. It was the most motivating and spirit uplifting kind of thing, as it reminded and reconnected one with the sounds of home. And these were very valuable. And I think when we get to those elements I've just talked about, we've got to a point, to some place where we can begin to interest young people in, first of all, I'm talking about now primary school children, for example, in just listening to music and to jazz. And then to know that this is a universal kind of language. If one studies or reads about American musician exiles in Europe, then you begin to see how powerful jazz can be. And I don't want to go into details on those things. I can send Professor Luswazi some links to that. And Johnny Dyani is in that mode because there were a number of these musicians who came from rural areas in the Eastern Cape, who actually helped to prevent many of us from going into deep depression. And during the years of oppression. Professor Luswazi might mention one person who's actually involved with the group, with Ilim Alabantu, and that's Sobizana Mngana, because he's a trumpeter, and he played and worked in the camps, in the liberation camps outside South Africa. And they were bringing music to the troops, our troops that were congregated there and undergoing training. And I think this is part of the history and the roles that jazz can play. And that's important for the young people to know that. They don't necessarily have to play jazz music, but they can listen to it if it's also, if it has vocals. One can listen very carefully to the vocals because they are a call to self-realization and to continuation of the struggle. And in that sense, it also becomes a freedom song or freedom kind of music. So I don't want to talk too much, but except to say, in order for us to do that, we have to get the adults, the teachers, and the communities to engage in this kind of thing. And then to relate that to our own traditional music, because there may be elements in there that actually connect these genres. Okay, thank you. I hope I've not used too much jargon and I'm not off base. Thank you very much. Oh, by the way, just before I had told Professor Luswazi that I wasn't even sure I was going to be able to join because I have some other commitment. So I slip in and out of the other commitment to come and join this. And quite frankly, if I may say this quietly, I know it's being recorded. I prefer to be in this one than in the other one. That's what there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dyasi. Peggy?
Yeah, I'm sitting here very excited. Believe it or not, the gentleman who has just spoken, Professor Mongameli Gyasi, He's speaking from New York. He has been since the 1960s. And so he counts as one of those people who are said to be living in the diaspora. But his mind is here all the time. He has lived in African countries, also north of South Africa, and done tremendous work in the field of early childhood development. So in the context of Ilimalabantu, we look up to him, as a major resource person on issues of early childhood development. But on a very personal note, I want to say I haven't seen this face since the early 1960s. He was a bosom friend of my brother's, Don Luswazi. So it's great to see you. I'm very, very excited. Thanks very much I hope you will continue with us on this journey of the homecoming, bringing Johnny Dyani's work home for the sake of the new generation. Yeah.
Good.
Thank you, Peggy. Maybe I can ask a question of Dr. Dyani, if you don't mind, because I know you've dealt with liberation heritage, and now we have this mix between cultural heritage and liberation heritage. So maybe with your experience of cultural tourism around liberation, you can assist us with working how we're going to fit these legacies of, okay, first of all, we have the jazz musicians, but also we're going to open up, and maybe this will be an opportunity to open up into various cultural traditions. So how will we mix, the liberation and the cultural heritage? How do they go together? Oh, is Dr. Boy with us? Not so much. Peggy, maybe I can then skip to the next question and ask you something. It's about this cultural activism of Johnny Dyani. We saw...
I am here.
Oh,
I'm here.
Dr. Boy, okay, go ahead.
I'm here. Thank you. I'm having a serious problem with connectivity here. You will know that I am in Tata, where we are struggling with the ICT, development. I've decided to even leave my house and speak inside the car, conduct this meeting from my car. But this is what is important. I think for me, as a person who is charged with the responsibility of preserving and conserving, promoting the legacy of Nelson Mandela, I take this opportunity not only as an opportunity to foreground the values and the legacy of Nelson Mandela using this platform, but for me, it is an opportunity of remembering. You remember that earlier on, I said one of my fundamental, call it task in this
I think Dr. Boy is gone. Peggy, are you going ahead? You have something?
We are discussing the heritage route.
historical. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, there he is. He's back.
Can you hear me? So that is the kind of work that I am doing. And I am taking this opportunity, therefore, not mere as a tourism orientated kind of an initiative. I don't want to talk, that shouldn't be my approach. My approach is to say, how do I use Nelson Mandela Museum as a platform to consolidate and to entrench the legacy of Tatu Dyani? And also, how do I make sure that those who are still living with all these beautiful oral testimonies
Sound. Sound.
Your sound is off,
Sound.
Dr. Boy. You're on
Oh,
mute.
Muted.
Vuyani, you're on mute. Let me send a message.
work as one of the critical tasks that should remain as our priority. What is that task? It is the task of promoting, it is the also, I am coming in here as Nelson Mandela Museum and also as a critical partner whose mission and vision is to ensure that the legacy of our struggle, that the narrative of the liberation movements, that the experiences, the memories, and the stories of our people are properly conserved for the next coming generation. And I'm also saying that through this jazz, through this initiative that I would want to be part of, we will be doing exactly that. And that is why I would encourage all of us, especially the younger generation that is listening and that is part of this meeting, to ensure that we are listening carefully, and people who are, who have a fresh blood, we are running with this project. We are also adding new ideas to this project. For instance, I am also looking forward that one day we should not only speak about the jazz, but we should also speak about, an exhibition that would portray the life and times, of Tatu Dyani, the life and times, of our predecessors, those who were in exile, the life and times of those who were involved in the liberation, the struggle for liberation. So it should be extended, not only to think about music, about jazz as a particular cultural aspect, but also we need to have education programs in the form of exhibitions. I want to believe those who are still in Berlin right now, and I want to believe those who still know Tatu Dyani right now, they can contribute, very significantly and in a manner that is positive, not only to talk about music, but also to develop exhibitions about the stories, about the lives of these great stalwarts. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's beautiful. Elizabeth?
You're catching me off guard. I must say, no, we both have big ears. We are listening with bigger and bigger ears. And we also think that Jazz Against Apartheid, as it is rooted here in Germany, it has its natural home in South Africa. And we are very much interested in seeing that it takes roots and develops much further. And it takes roots within the young generation. And also not just, I say that, not just as far as jazz is concerned, but all the arts and all the contributions that are going in that direction of liberating all of us. And what Mr. Dyani said, I especially like that there's something that is bridging the apartness, and we are working together in bridging the apartness everywhere, not just in South Africa, but here as well.
Okay, I see Peggy. Peggy's gone off again, so hopefully she'll come back. Maybe in Nhlanganiso, I can ask you on your experience. You know, I was going to ask Peggy. With Johnny Dyani, he dedicated so many of his songs to other liberation heroes, other musicians, you know, and he helped expose much of our cultural heritage through his song titles. Now, in the modern day, we don't so much see musicians composing about other artists, other painters, other heroes, and I just wonder what is this change, you know, and how do we revive the spirit of activism among people to say, you know, we can use our platforms to help, you know, raise awareness for other people's stories. Oh, thank you, Peggy. We asked the question on cultural activism now, and this heritage of selfless service that people.
Okay, can you see Lita Ngogazi? Someone called Lita Ngogazi is also in this meeting. He's a member of Ilima Labantu, and we call people like him champions. He is currently working on what we have called establishing of an art academy in the Eastern Cape. It would be a good idea if you can also contribute to this discussion. Before I continue. Lita.
I don't see Lito on the call just yet. Load shedding.
Oh yeah, I think he indicated that he might have that kind of
yes
of a problem.
Oh no, big challenge. Load shedding, power gone. Both at home and at work.
Okay. So, Struan, what question would you like me to respond to exactly?
Well, I think, Peggy, continue with your thought about the art centers and what you're doing with the Lima Labantu, and just maybe comment on how Jazz Against Apartheid and the work we've done in the last year and a half, how this fits in with your vision, and maybe how the two can work together.
Yeah. My mind right now is on the on the heritage route, because you had asked me a question that was saying you believed that I was involved in the in the early stages, the conceptualization of the heritage route. What I wanted to say to that is that what we are doing here, you know, the story of Dyani, and bringing it back home is part of what I would call Eastern Cape.
Yeah.
You can continue.
Can I continue?
Please.
Yeah, okay. I'm saying that the Eastern Cape is known as the home of legends. You raised that point with me in your message. Of course, some people dispute this on the grounds that there are legends all over. Why should the Eastern Cape be picked, and highlighted as the home of legends? I wouldn't go into that kind of debate, but there's something that a little bit of insight that was given to me by Dr. Mabona, who was resident in Switzerland at the time. We were talking about the Eastern Cape as the home of legends. And the point he made was that there's something logical in the sense that the colonial route, the route that was taken by the colonialists when they came to South Africa in 1652, began in the Western Cape, Cape Town, and then they moved on and on. And remember that there was no fast means of transportation at the time. So they spent 100 years, Mabona says, in the Eastern Cape, before the so-called Great Trek, when they then moved towards the north. So the Eastern Cape had 100 years of struggle ahead of the other areas. And the missionaries also landed here, and they set up schools and colleges, and even fought here as the first university that took Africans. So Mabona was saying he thinks there is some kind of logic in the Eastern Cape. If you think of the first person, I think it was Makoma, a leader from the Cape, who was the first one to be imprisoned in Robben Island. But I cannot defend that point. Like I'm saying, I'm quoting a scholar, a history scholar. But coming back now to the topic of home of legends and what, whether and what we can contribute as JAA and as Ilemalaban. This home of legends idea, I was one, of course, of the first people that received it. I can't say exactly who the originator was, but it was brought to the board of the Nelson Mandela Museum when I was part of that board. And now I am someone who, when I am impressed or interested by what I think is a good idea, I can go to the point of what other people could call fanatic. Yeah. So I like the idea of home of legends, and my concern, my special concern, was and still is the aspect of women legends, because when you look at these legends, when you look at the list of the legends, it's primarily males. We think of Dr. Truma Engcobo, who was the first African doctor. We think of Albert Luthuli. No, that one is not from the Eastern Cape. We think of O.R. Tambo, we think of Mandela, we think of, you know, it's males that are being spoken about. So I developed a thought that said to me, can you dig into the aspect of women? So when I was still at Walter Sisulu University, I tried to interest the university into us maybe using part of the library or setting up a different unit altogether that would focus on women legends. And we started off collecting or dreaming of beginning with a collection around Hlophe Brigelia Bam. Brigelia Bam, still alive, comes from Tolo, which is about 40 kilometers from where I am now in Tata. And, but then, you know, going back to what I said earlier on, that development is usually brought to where there is development already. Somehow my idea of bringing the project to WSU did not succeed at the time. And the whole story around Brigelia Bam is now located in at NMU. Yeah. So I hope in the context of the cultural tourism we're talking about, in the context of the partnerships we are trying to forge around JAA, I hope we could, since you raised this question of Home of Legends, I hope we could revisit that vision of a home of an institution or a center that would focus on research and innovation around female legends. You are not getting Lita, and are you?
Peggy,
Because
Prof. Dayasi says he has to go. I wonder if we can hand over quickly to Dayasi.
Okay.
Oh, thank you very much. I just wanted to thank you all for these valuable ideas. I've learned a lot. I joined these to listen and learn. The only piece I just want to stress, because I didn't mention it very strongly earlier, is the artistic aspects of jazz. And I think, of course, we listen to enjoy, but the artistry that's involved and what shall I say, and the harmony among the people who play jazz. Sometimes it's people who don't know one another very well, and yet they come together in communion through music and this jazz. And I think that's one aspect we need to really stress, the innovation aspect and the improvisation in jazz to bring out the artistry in each participant. Thank you very, very much. And I'm glad, Nofundo, to finally see you after 1,000,000 years. And thank you. And thank you for meeting all of you. I have to run away now. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Okay.
Right. Okay,
Thank
goodbye.
you. Yeah, thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Prof. Dyani makes, if I can jump in, makes this point about what tends to be unique in jazz or amongst jazz musicians. And I think strong you raised the point of Dyani also acknowledging fondly acknowledging other musicians and even composing around their names. So, jazz is one of those genres that seemingly, just as Prof. Just said, provides a brilliant platform really for building community amongst artists. You will find that even if there is a lead, main, attraction or artist, there is, a generous acknowledgement of the backing, band, because they each bring, in rich special, their own specialties. So that in itself, and I'm just thinking of, and maybe I would really want to get a comment from, our younger colleagues here, especially the celebrated emerging jazz musician. I don't see her anymore. I don't know. I think she's exited now.
We've still got Kawe Kazi with us, I think. Kawe, are you with us?
Okay. So I would really, just appreciate hearing from them, because when we grew up, during our time, there was not as much noisy competition, if you will, in terms of music. So even attracting young people to jazz nowadays might be, I might be wrong, but it's a greater challenge than in decades gone by, because there's a whole lot of noise happening, presenting itself as music in times, and so serious musicians, as you find in jazz musicians and others that are archiving, the cultural heritage of folk music, there are some youngsters that are really serious about this. I would really like to hear from them. How do you, what are your struggles in building a community, around yourselves, and how, what kind of, if you will, assistance can come from elders and policymakers, etc. How do we assist, amplify your voice in building, your community?
Well, thanks. I don't see anyone to answer that question. I see Polani there. Maybe you can answer this. Are you with us, Polani? No. I think there are some connection challenges, yeah?
Good day, team. How's it?
Hello, Ben. You with us?
How you doing? I'm
Very
with
good.
you.
We have a younger generation, not from the Eastern Cape, but perhaps you can advise us. What can the elders do to pass on the knowledge and ensure that you stay to the roots?
I feel we need to, what the elders can do is educate, and like in our generation, we like the feeling. Like I know jazz has feeling, but we like nice things, Imagine having jazz mixed with a painter or mixed with a choreographer or someone who's dancing. So that's how we can attract. Also having jazz more in our history books, in our school books, also like educating the younger ones about the jazz. And basically, I don't want to say much. I just came in, but yeah, that's my part.
Oh, that's very good. I just wanted to drop back to the point that Peggy made about the female legends, and using this as an opportunity to really promote female legends. I think one thing that I found amazing last year was, Peggy, you sent me those photos of all those women musicians that came to your house with the traditional dress and the traditional
yeah.
the Eastern Cape.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
if you think of the Eastern Cape, you do think of the women traditional musicians. I mean, what is being done to preserve that legacy of the traditional musicians of the Eastern Cape?
Can I answer that?
Please.
But actually, I'm not in the position to respond. I wish you could get hold of Lita, because he's in touch. He's an artist, and currently focusing. We're exploring in the context of Irimalabant, we're exploring establishment of an art academy that would focus on upgrading and uplifting existing natural resources. But when we talk about women legends, and their promotion, I think the person who comes to my mind is the one that you yourself mentioned, Umadusi. Yeah. Umadusini, came from, her story is a mind, it's one of those stories where you just can't believe what you hear or what you see. I've seen her perform many years ago, and there is a lot we could learn from Umadusi. So as we proceed with a jazz against apartheid and have women legends in mind, I think there are many of these legends who are not even known. And so the universities and other research institutions should be encouraged. We could do this very consciously. We have a department of music here at Walter Sisulu University. Now, at some stage, I was registrar, and it used to strike me that at graduation, the themes that you see students engaging in research on, they were to me very often themes that didn't have that kind of forward-looking development perspective. It would just be a question of writing about what was visible, and that's it, and there's a graduation. Now, if we could establish, also bring the universities in the Eastern Cape on board, particularly their departments of music, if we could consciously bring them on board the jazz against apartheid, and bring in aspects such as, for example, of music legends, with a focus on women. I'm convinced that there would be an interest. And as I said to you, I started working on women legends here, but then the project was taken over to Port Elizabeth. But we can consciously, in fact, I'm getting inspired as we talk about these things, because I have been in touch with the Department of Music here. So we could do a pilot, it's just one of the many possibilities in front of us. We could do a pilot of working with this institution. If you remember, Struan, last year we had, and I'd spoken to the Vice Chancellor of Walter Sisulu University. You had sent an invitation to this Department of Music for them to attend JAA. This year, it didn't work out not because of transport, because you had offered transport possibilities, but this year we need to, if you can encourage me to do that, to again talk to them about attending JAA and being part of JAA. And before that, I'm here in Umtata, we could actually sit with the department and bring this subject up, you know. Now, I cannot, one thing leads to another. It's easy to set an example, and then other universities can pick that up. And it's not only universities, there's music all over. There's music in the schools, there's music in the FET colleges, there's music in the churches, there's music all over. You know, it's just a question of setting, you know, starting somewhere. Yeah, I hope what I'm saying makes sense. Yeah.
Very much so. Thank you. Elizabeth, can we hand back to you now?
Yes, I would very much like to comment on that, Peggy, because my heart opens when I hear what you say about the female aspect of legends that are not even known. And I think that would be a very valuable asset and addition to the project if we could make it a little more female oriented as well. I'm very sure that there are many female musicians that we haven't heard of, that we haven't known, and not just, I'm just saying that not just vocals, but playing instruments as well. I think this is something very much very interesting to dig into it much more and much more diligently. So if the Department of Music could be part of JAA on the Eastern Cape, I think that would be great if we could expand it that way. And it's always interesting, Peggy, to see how fast you pick things up and how you develop new pilot projects within the span of an hour or so.
Is very nice. Elizabeth, what about the cooperation with Germany? I know over the years you've built up partnerships with the Jazz Institute and other kind of places. What about extending these partnerships to our local universities where you can see we have a lot of stories that need to be told?
That's true. But also Jürgen and I, we do not want to create false hopes. We can do what we can do, but we are picking it up, and we see how we can maybe connect. But that's what I say. We can pick it up, and we cannot promise that it will connect. I mean, it's always a question of you throw a stone in the water, and then you have to see how it develops further. But we are listening.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, the ripples have gone wide. From my side, I'm very happy to see you connect, particularly with Peggy.
Yeah. Something else comes to my mind, which I didn't think of before. Now that we're talking about universities. Jürgen is here. and Elizabeth. I would like to recall, just use this opportunity to recall that around 1997, or maybe a bit later, I was able, to find, I was very much impressed by the choir we had at, it was the University of Transkei then, at Walter Sisulu University now. Great choir, and I went to Germany, I was sent to Germany by the Vice Chancellor to just explore opportunities for collaboration from a wide variety of German institutions. And during that trip, at some point I phoned Jürgen. Yeah, I hope he's picking up what I'm saying. I phoned him and I said, Jürgen, I'm here on a kind of a wild goose chase. I'm looking for institutions, organizations, or even individuals who could be interested in the development of a rural university in the Eastern Cape. And I don't have anything in particular in mind, but the university has a very, very choir. So Jürgen was very, very fast in coming up with a solution. He said to me, he had a friend at the University of Mainz, and the friend is Professor Wolfgang Bender. And that Wolfgang Bender was the founder and the director of an archive, possibly one of the biggest archives of African music, maybe in Germany or maybe in the world. And he said, I'm going to take you to go and see this archive. I don't know if Jürgen remembers, but I can see myself traveling to Frankfurt for this purpose, and how one lovely warm evening, Jürgen drove me to Mainz to meet Wolfgang Bender and to be taken around this something that was very new to me. It was the first time I saw a music archive, African, all kinds of rooms, all kinds of literature, all kinds of instruments, from Cape, from Cairo right down, not to Cape Town, but he then told me that I was coming just at the right time because they did not have South African music, deliberately so, because of apartheid. They were boycotting South Africa. And so this now was an opportunity in the new South African dispensation to introduce South African literature. Anyway, it's a long story with a good ending, which was that Bender suggested getting a scholarship, a postgraduate scholarship for a lecturer, for a staff member, music staff member, to go to Germany. And it did happen. Dr. Donza got this 6 months, I think, visiting lectureship, and he went to Mainz to study this archive. At the same time, working with and under Wolfgang Bender, they wrote a proposal for an archive of African music here in Tata. So the Mainz archive and the archive that was set up here in Umtata, which is still there next to the radio.
Zips, you can mute.
Can I go? Can I go on?
Please go on.
Yeah, the archive exists. Yeah, I'm no longer at the university, but this university has an archive, African Music Archive, which stemmed out of these efforts that involve Jürgen, as a matter of fact. So I'm bringing this up because if next year, 2024, as we've discussed, Jazz Against Apartheid will come to the region of Mthatha, then the existence of this archive, the presence of this archive here in Mthatha will have to, you know, to play a role, to be revisited, that the public is also made, even the university itself is made conscious of this archive which existed, which stemmed out of the partnerships established around the project of Jazz Against Apartheid. There is the radio station also enjoyed a German support at the beginning. It enjoyed support of the Deutsche Welle. And in fact, the first station manager and program director were trained in Germany. So I'm just thinking aloud and quite happy that we are looking at Jazz Against Apartheid, not just from the aspects of music or of jazz, but from the perspective of societal and human development in this.
Peggy, I can assure you that Jürgen remembers. And he remembers not just Mr. Bender, but also your trip to Mainz on that lovely summer evening where you met him.
Yeah.
So it's great to see what repercussions this little stone of Jazz Against Apartheid has. No, if you throw it into a little pond, and how it then continues to create bigger waves, and that's wonderful. And I mean, if that were possible, is Dr. Donza still at the archive? Is he still with the Walter Sisulu University?
What's your question?
No, we do that separately. It's not necessary right now. But it would be great if the archive of the Walter Sisulu University could be part of Jazz Against Apartheid 2024. If you are traveling to Mthatha, if it becomes a reality to set it up in Mthatha as well.
Well, Elizabeth, it's been an amazing journey with Peggy in the Eastern Cape. In fact, I was saying to the Johannesburg partners here as well, it's been an amazing journey how things have just fallen into place. But what happened yesterday was a chap called Mr. Mzwandile Gogwana. He contacted me and he said his son is a great trumpet player who's stuck here in Joburg. He's from East London. And, you know, and his parents are getting old and he just wants his son to come home. And, you know, he's not even making a good living in Joburg. He said, in fact, he's struggling. So I went straight because Luanda is actually a friend of mine, his son. And I drove out yesterday. He's out near Tembisa. I drove out there to meet him. And hopefully we can bring him home to Eastern Cape this year. But it just triggered my mind to the fact that we're actually dealing today with economic exiles. You know, people who are having to leave East London, like a very talented musician like Luanda, and go out to Joburg. So I'm just wondering if, you know, this exile heritage in the modern day, you know, event like this can bring home these economic exiles.
Yeah. Should I respond to this?
Yes.
Yeah. Economic exiles. I'm thinking of that first at another level. One, we are facing a huge, unbelievable problem of unemployment in the Eastern Cape. And it reflects in the amount of crime. Mthatha is not a big town, but the situation has deteriorated so much that Mthatha is being counted as one of the main centers of crime in South Africa. Yet it's in a rural environment. So I'm just trying to no, Struan, can you just repeat the question?
Yes, how do we offset this problem of economic exiles, people like Luanda having to leave to make a living?
Yeah. Now I'm mentioning this because there is evidence at some stage, and Langaniso was with me in this. We were appointed to an Eastern Cape Planning Commission called Vision 2030 and mandated to research and eventually to formulate a plan for reconstruction and development of the Eastern Cape. Now, quite a bit of research was done, and we were getting all kinds of insights into the historical situation in the Eastern Cape. One of the findings of that research that struck me was that during the homeland era, the head of the homeland, Matanzima, had promoted agricultural development. I'm talking about economic excellence. And a lot of men from the Transkei would go to the mines and to the sugarcane fields far away from the Eastern Cape. And that had in fact many effects, but one of them was the deterioration of agriculture in the Eastern Cape. But what was striking was that when an irrigation, a very good irrigation scheme was set up in an area called Ngcoga, economic exiles returned. Those men who had gone out to work, they came back home. And the lesson from that is straightforward, you know, more and more development, and people will stay at home and not move out. Somebody was saying to me yesterday that rural areas, I'm talking about the rural areas, Ilali, are empty right now because people have moved to the cities, they have moved to the townships, where they suffer and suffer and suffer due to unemployment. Yeah. So I am happy that we are broadening our horizon around jazz against apartheid. Not only to be looking at music in a narrow sense, but to be looking at music in the context of the broader well-being, you know, of human beings. So the guy you're talking about, who's now in Johannesburg, is just one single person. Maybe we can talk about that, you know, and see how we can assist. I'm ready to be involved in that problem solving journey.
Thank you so much, Peggy. Just a message from Elizabeth. We've just got time for one more question. If it's possible, I'm going to hand over to Elizabeth to just finish off and close our meeting for today. But one last point, Nhlanganiso put on the chat group that he says, please, can we have this conversation again, maybe closer to the event? Maybe we can set up another Zoom in December.
Okay.
So over to you, Elizabeth.
Yeah, we can see if we can find a date, maybe a few days before we take off for South Africa. Maybe what I can say for just for this upcoming event, what I find very exciting is that we do have the expansion, that we are back again in Duncan Village. I'm very much looking forward to that. Back again at the Steve Biko Center, but also that we are collaborating with Tali Nates in Johannesburg and at the Nyrox Foundation. I think this is pretty amazing how this connected, and I am very curious to see how we will connect and build, because the working on the cultural memory and the cultural heritage is one aspect, but the question always is, I think, how does it prolong into the future? What does it mean for the present? And then how does it go, and what an effect does it have on the future? And I think from this conversation, it's clear that somehow we are all working from different aspects, that we learned from the past, that we somehow put it into the present, and then that we give some good impulses for the future. And I think it's very interesting to see from what different spheres of life we all come, and then how somehow there's the center of which we share in this respect. And I find it very fruitful and very encouraging and uplifting to be in this project, I must say. And thank you very much for your, yes, once again, for your energy and for your good spirit in this. And Struan, thank you for your tremendous work. And Peggy, thank you for your tremendous work and energy.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm so happy to see Jürgen.
Yes.
We met in December, but Jürgen, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I'll visit you in December. I mean, in summer next year. I'm dreaming of going to Germany for the summer next year.
Wonderful. You have an open house.
Yeah. Take care, guys.
Yes.
Thank you so
You
much.
too. Struan, thank you, and all the other ones who participated. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Okay, keep well. Thank you, Peggy.
yeah. Thanks, Struan. You were great, huh?
We'll keep going.
Yeah, thanks so much. How are you happy? Are you happy with?
Very happy. Perfect.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Yeah, okay. Is Mhlanganiso still around?
No, he left. He had to go to a meeting.
Oh, okay. All right. Great. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.